And then he says 2 compelling reasons why personal retaliation is prohibited. And by the way, will you circle that phrase, personal retaliation? Don't get confused here. Sometimes we get oranges and apples, and someone breaks into your house, and you say, oh, wait a second, I'm not supposed to take my own revenge. Chapter 13 of Romans says, legal issues, government issues, civil issues, God has placed people to take revenge and bring about justice now. This is personal attack. This passage is not teaching that, hey, let's reward murderers. Let's bless those who persecute us. Let's buy them condos. Or, you commit murder or you steal from people. I'll tell you what, we got new cars for you out back because we want to. No. This is about personal attacks on your person, not legal issues, civil issues. The government holds the sword and will bring about justice in civil affairs. But 2 compelling reasons why personal retaliation is prohibited. The first one is because it usurps God's role as judge. It usurps God's role as judge. Vengeance is his responsibility. So God says, don't do it. If you do it, you're in my way. And for some of you, that sort of counterintuitive logic will really help you. The longer you hold on to this, you're in God's way. You want him to get what God really wants to give them? Or do you want to keep messing around with this? The second is personal retaliation is an ineffective means of peace. It almost always escalates. Retaliation is like fighting fire with a hose filled with gas. It only adds to the fire. Well, he makes this outlandish summary. He says, on the contrary, if your enemy's hungry, feed him, do good. If he's thirsty, give him a drink. In so doing, you will heap burning coals on his head. Now, unlike what most of us would like this to mean, this doesn't mean if you're really, really nice to him, God's going to slam dunk him. He's going to take the ball and the person. And I mean, no, that's not what it means. In the ancient Near East, there's a commentator has a great word on this. I think Clausen is his name. And he talks about in the ancient Near East in a tribe when someone was repenting and understood that they were wrong, is they would go into the village and they would build a fire, and they'd build a fire and there would be coals, and they would take a pot and they would take coals from the pot, coals, and put it in the pot, and they took a towel, and then they took the towel with the pot and they put it on their head and they would walk through the village. And as they walked through the village, they're saying, I'm burning out of my mind the way I used to think. I was wrong. I was wrong. But let me give you the picture of how this works. I played college basketball, and we had a fellow on our team who was a Vietnam vet who was decorated in terms of, he came back sort of a hero. He had a scar from here to here all the way through, was really shot up, a lot of trauma. He had a tremendous, was in prison. I think he got out, I don't know all the story, but he'd been in prison once or twice. Then he went to Vietnam, and he was about 6'6", 6'7", maybe 6'8", and had a vertical leap of probably somewhere between 40 and 46 inches. It was, I mean, literally there was times I thought the guy was going to hurt his head on the rim. But because of all the trauma, the reason he was playing at this little school instead of a big school is he had terrible hands. And sort of the neuromuscular, so, if you threw him a really hard pass, some of them he caught, and some of them sort of slipped through his hands. And, sometimes I'd watch him, he'd go for a rebound, he'd get it in his elbows by the time it got down. But, no one else was up there so he could get it. And his name was Jerry. And Jerry had been through a lot. His description is, I'm an evil man. And he wasn't kidding. He was an evil man. And he found out I was a Christian, and something happened along the way. He hated Christians. I mean, he hated Christians. And so, there's 4 girls to every guy on our campus. I made a commitment to be sexually pure, and Jerry finds out about this, and all I can tell you is, some of you men know the level of dialogue in a locker room. And he just sliced me and diced me from morning to noon to night and said things about me. And this was, I've kind of grew up playing hoop in the playgrounds in inner cities, so this was not a black-white issue at all. And in fact, I usually have been one of the few white guys on most of the teams I've played on, which has been really great. And so Jerry, though, he had this chip. That's what he called me, chip. Tchib. Tchib. And he would say things like in front of all the guys, so you not getting any, huh? Because you're one of them little, you Christian little white boy. And then he would just, egg me on and on and on. And it's just said things that I could never, ever, ever repeat. But attacks on your manhood, your anything you can imagine. And he was an amazingly intelligent guy. He was an amazing artist, really gifted. And he had everyone fooled into thinking he was this reformed guy. He was the biggest drug dealer on the campus. And the fellow who was across the hall from me, my room was here, and the room was here, and I was going to my room, and the door opened, and, this is, the early 70s. I mean, everyone's smoking dope and everywhere, and everyone's sleeping with everybody, and I guess it still goes on a lot, but, I mean, it was just crazy. And so the door opens, and all this, bluish smoke comes out, and I walk through, and Jerry sees me, and I get to about here on my door, and I get this, and this guy literally puts me up against the wall. He understands he's on probation. The story is he's this reformed guy. And I mean, his hands were like this big. And he looked at me and he said, Tchib, I understand you saw what you saw, but if what you saw ever is communicated to anybody, I'll kill you. And I've killed a lot of people, and one more wouldn't make a bit of difference. You understand what I'm saying? And I understood. I'm a freshman. and this guy, this was, there's times where you think people are bluffing. He ain't bluffing. And I remember deciding, one, I'm scared to death. And it was my first experience with the word hate. I don't mean dislike, annoyance. I mean hate. I hated him. I had anger fantasies. And I thought of things to do to hurt him. And he was really big and I was really small. So none of those really... And so the only thing I could do, my hero was Pete Maravich, so I could really handle the ball, and I did all that jazz. And so in warm-ups and stuff, I would come and I'd throw a pass like that as hard as I could, or through my legs, or behind the back, bang, right here, and I knew, slipped through his hand, boom, right in his face. Evil, evil. And what are you going to say? You're on the break, he's the guy, bam, right through your legs, it bounces off his chest, out of bounds in practice, and Jerry, come on, the coach gets on him, I'm going, I just love it. And it didn't really help things. And I had a very godly guy in our campus ministry named Jerry, another Jerry, ironically. And Jerry opened up Romans chapter 12, and he read verses 14 to 21, and he explained it to me. And he said, Chip, evil for evil will just escalate. This is the greatest opportunity in your life to demonstrate the reality of Jesus. You say you love him. And this is what I want you to do. And he began to describe what good for evil would look like. And Jerry was, Chip, get my bag, because freshmen have to carry that. Chip, get me some more Coke, I was like his slave. I hated it. And I remember deciding, not because I felt anything, because my confession is, there were windows of time, seriously, if I had a gun and he walked in the door, I'd shot him. I hated it. It was eating me up. And so I made a willful choice, and it was hard, but I just decided, oh, Jerry, I got your bag. I'll put it on the bus for you. Jerry, you need any more drink? I got some more for you. When Jerry went to the showers, all your stuff would be there, and we'd put it in the laundry and put it in a little bag, and the trainers would take care of it. I took his stuff, put it in the bag, dropped it off for him, then I took his clothes, and I folded them, and I put them next to his shoes. What's happening here? Who did that? Tchib. What are you up to? You trying that Christian stuff on me? I said, no, Jerry, just want to help out. No more behind the back passes in his face. Hey, Jerry, nice job. A little pat on the rear end when he made a good play. Now, I'd love to say that, 3 weeks later, dear Jesus, forgive me, I'm a sinner, and Chip is such a wonderful person. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. Little by little, we kind of took it off. We got to the end of the year, and we played in a big tournament. We were downtown, and we're walking, he and I, and he stops at a corner, kind of a windy, you know something? I wanted to say, what? But I didn't. He said, there's only two people I respect on this team. Me? Because I'm evil, and I know it, and I'm on my way to hell, and I'm going to burn if there is one. And you. I disagree with every single thing you say and believe. But if I was ever in any way going to be a Christian, I'd say I'd want to be one like you. He said, I'm done messing with your mind, kid. I'll leave you alone. And I said, thanks, Jerry. I really appreciate that. And I prayed, and I blessed him. And God took away my anger. And God gave me a love for him. And I wish there was a happy ending. I really never knew what happened to Jerry. I heard about a year later that he got picked up on a drug situation and went back to prison. I don't know how it ended. I want to tell you, however deeply you've been wounded, whoever hurt you, lied to you, betrayed you, walked out on you, our 12 Christians supernaturally respond to evil with good. And good is more powerful than evil. And you can bless them by his power and grace. And my question is, with that person in mind right now that you started with, what is it God wants you to do? Have you ever fully, completely, start with forgiving the choice today, and then ask, is there any way possible to do good to those that have done evil to you? And you will be sons and daughters. You will be like your Father who's in heaven. And the world will know. God sent his Son, Jesus, because it won't make any sense. There's no explanation for what you're doing than that God has done something so radical in you that you would be like his Son to those who will know in the depth of their soul that your present treatment doesn't correlate with their actions and behavior toward you.